We are not as ready as I would have wished us to be. A lot of equipment are in place, our personnel are in place, but there are a few places where equipment are just arriving this morning, and some of the personnel arriving this morning. I think latest by tomorrow, everything should be sweet and dandy all over the region. And I apologize to citizens who may go to a center and instead of finding, let's say, 6 machines, there are 4. Our intention was to make sure that 833 registration centers across the region, the largest ever open in any region, we would have also about 6 machines. But that's not likely to be the case by the start of registration this morning.
What has caused this challenge? Why are some centers not going to have the equipment early on time and the machines not being enough?
The machines are enough. The deployment of the machines to the registration centers is what has been the challenge. We depend on third parties to assist in the deployment by way of provision of transport services. And somebody's, output is our input. And in this case, even though equipment is adequate, government has provided us, through its facilitation, we have over 5,600 machines, more than enough. And we've made arrangements in due time for these to be deployed to the centers. But sometimes, third-party intervention, and it doesn't work out exactly the way that it should have been, despite your prior advanced concrete planning.
All right. So, and again, we hear that these machines are supposed to work instantly, but there have been a few challenges in some regions. What assurances can you give that in printing out some of these, materials for people, we will not have challenges?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to clarify something. The instant printing is our first option. Our system design is programmed to enable us print in 3 different modes. The first, which is our preferred and our strongest trump card, is the instant issuance. It has never happened anywhere in the world where you have multiple registration centers across regions, across the country, or even across the world, where cards can be issued instantly after a complex process of registration and deduplication. That is to say, where the data, your biometric data plus your biographic data, and the biometric data, I'm referring to your 10 fingerprints, a picture of your face, a picture of your iris, and of course, picture of your ears. All of this is taken and then it runs through the back-end system within a space of 3 seconds through the millions of fingerprints and faces and ears and eyes, and comes back cleaned up, verified that you are the person who is sitting before us. And then a command is issued for the card to be printed. And whether you're doing it in Washington or Warsaw or Wasa, Amenfi, that deduplication process takes place within that 3 minutes, at the 3 seconds, and then a card is printed. Because the data transfer is via internet, it depends on data, and where you have weak data connectivity, that process may not be efficiently conducted. When it is efficiently conducted and the green light is given for the card to be printed, the printing itself may be affected by, again, internet. And then when you have printed the card, the actual issuance of it, the giving of the card to the individual, requires that they apply their fingerprint to the issuance station, and that process can also be mediated adversely by internet connectivity. Because of our level of technological advancement as a country, much of the problems we encounter in the card printing and issuance process, if we were doing this in the United Kingdom, Canada, wherever, US, we would not encounter this problem. But that is you take your victim as you find it. This is the situation we find ourselves in. Instant issuance is our preferred and first. Where that doesn't work, we have our second option, which is the deferred issuance. And that is a situation where, because of internet challenge, we take the data, and in the evening when internet traffic is low and data is high, we print the card at a registration center at a print farm, a place where we have set up maybe 20 or more printers, and they are staffed by our technicians. They spend the night, printing the cards, batching and boxing them, and the next day, our district registration officers take them to the registration centers, and they are issued to citizens. That is the second option. And we plead with citizens to bear with us. If they don't get their cards in the first instance, to trust that the cards will be printed and will be brought to the registration centers and issued to them. The third option is what we call centralized printing. That's the approach we're going to use to do the printing of cards for Ghanaians under 15 years old. I should remark that at this point, we are registering in this mass registration phase, we're registering Ghanaians aged 15 and above. And we are issuing them with this smart dual interface biometric ID card that is the first class in a rank of its own in the world. Ghanaians under 15 years old will be issued with a two-dimensional barcode card, pretty much like your current driver's license.
Prof, if I may, Prof, please indulge me. We'll talk about the features of this card, how sophisticated it is in a bit. But I know that some people might have registered some 10 years ago, and their status might have changed. Now, what should they do going forward as this registration exercise begins today? What should they be doing?
Okay, so thank you very much. I was just ending by saying that the third option is the centralized printing, which will be for the children. And it will be batched and sent to the registration centers in their schools, kindergarten, hospitals, tip compounds, and everybody will get their card. But back to your question then, where citizens had already registered 10 years ago, coming back to NIA in 2019, 2020, you should be going with the same name, same identity as you registered 10 years ago, because you are the same person. If, however, you have had a name change, a legitimate name change, a legitimate change in your date of birth, you should be bringing along with you to the registration center the concrete legal document evidencing your appropriate or proper change of name or date of birth. It means you should have had your name properly changed and gazetted and published in the Gazette notification, and that will help us avoid the situation where somebody goes to register. He registered 10 years ago with the name David Akwete. Now he comes 2017 and says he's David Kofi Akwete. Now, those are two different names, and without any legitimate change of name evidencing it and backing it up, we have a problem. The person's application will go into adjudication, and a decision has to be made on it, and the person won't get their card. This is affecting a lot of people, especially women who have married. She was Janet Mensah. Now she's Janet Mensah Abrokwa, and she's not done anything. She just presents the document, and it conflicts with what is already in the NIA system. So please, the answer to your question is, come to the registration center with proper documentary evidence of your proper change of name, so that your current identity can be verified and harmonized with your data set in our National Identity Register.
And is it that easy? Because I've heard some people say that, well, they might have to go to Accra, and then they'll be told that, well, it has not been validated in the system, it cannot be found and all that.
They have to go to Accra, where to do what?
Well, maybe have to go to the NIA office and try to prove their point.
Oh no, well, nobody has had to go through that yet. But the adjudication process is a technical process of verification, and it's also a legal process. If your situation is one where a name change, or you see, the system wants to make sure that we have a sanitized national data register, that there isn't one person with multiple identities, same biography but different biometrics. Same biometrics but different biographies. We're not going to have that. We must change. We must be committed as a country to providing for ourselves a reliable, robust, and clean, hygienic national data register. Anyone who goes through a change of name bears the burden of making sure that they have done it the proper way. You can't just change your date of birth. SNP won't accept it, NIA won't accept it, DVLA won't accept it, and the deduplication process that I described will ensure that if you have multiple identities, you will be caught. So the best thing to do is to make sure your records are clean. If your records are clean, when you present yourself to NIA, and nobody has had to do that yet, we have to invite you to come and provide the evidence.
Okay.
Those whose difficulty may simply be that their biometrics, for example, their fingerprints are so much like somebody, similar to somebody else's. The system will in no time technically clear you, and then you get your card. But where your biometrics are conflicting with your biometrics, then you have to come before an adjudication panel and answer questions.
Okay.
That hasn't happened yet.
All right.
Where it has happened in Accra, it is because we have invited those people. I don't think that anybody living in Kumasi has been invited to get to Accra for that kind of situation, because we are now registering in Kumasi.
I hear you. Well, the voice you're listening to on radio this morning is that of Professor Ken Agyeman-Atefa. He is the Executive Secretary of the NIA. Now, we're streaming live on Facebook, and we have placed on our Facebook platform the registration centers, depending on where you live. It could be Asokwa, it could be Swame, or wherever. We have everything on our Facebook platform. Just go there and get to know where you can go and get yourself registered for the Ghana card. Now, who is eligible to go out this morning and get registered? Because we're talking about Ghanaians getting registered here, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Who's a Ghanaian?
And a Ghanaian, simply stated, is a person whose parents or grandparents is a Ghanaian. That means that if one of your parents is or was a Ghanaian, you are a Ghanaian. If one of your grandparents is or was a Ghanaian, you are a Ghanaian. Mr. Pamdeti, my head of corporate affairs, who is a senior immigration officer, assistant commissioner, is in your studio and will elaborate on this and other the legal provisions of citizenship. But in very simple terms, that is it. So, if, for example, somebody is a Nigerian and a Nigerian who was living in Ghana and then had a baby with a Ghanaian mother in 1968, and then left for Nigeria in 1969. Went away with a son called Wole Adekunle. That little child, Wole Adekunle, who went back to Nigeria in 1969, is a Ghanaian by virtue of the fact that his mother is a Ghanaian. Now, Kunle Adekunle's children are Ghanaians, but not his Nigerian wife, unless that wife takes on Ghanaian citizenship by naturalization or registration. That Kunle Adekunle's children and their children are also Ghanaians. However, if you have someone who has lived in Ghana for 50 years, migrated from Niger or Burkina Faso or Togo or Cote d'Ivoire or wherever, has given birth with his Nigerian or Burkinabe wife, and they have lived here and their children have also married, those children are not Ghanaians. And that man, the immigrant and his wife, who have lived here for 50 years, are also not Ghanaians. In other words, citizenship is not acquired in Ghana simply by longevity of your stay in the country. You have to go through a proper process of applying for naturalization or registration and be granted same by the Minister for the Interior. You may have been born here and may speak a local language fluently and be integrated and law-abiding and all of that. It doesn't make you a Ghanaian. And so we are registering only Ghanaians, and we are asking Ghanaians to assist in policing the boundaries of Ghanaian citizenship, and to do so vigorously, politely, and in accordance with law. If you have reason to believe that someone attempting to register for the Ghana card during this mass registration phase is not a Ghanaian, you owe it a duty. It's your bounden duty to inform NIA officials by mounting the challenge process. Mr. Pamdeti will explain. It is basically a process by which you inform our officers. You are given a form to fill. You state the reasons why you think the person is not qualified, that you are challenging their eligibility, and the officials, the NIA officials, will fill the form and then give that person to the opportunity to respond. This will be taken to a district registration review committee provided for by law, chaired by a magistrate or high court judge, which has membership of the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Social Welfare. It has a traditional authority, a religious leader. It has the police commander as a member. It has a local bar association member, and on and on and on. Significant members of society who I describe as accredited knowers, people who can investigate your eligibility criteria. So the senior education officer on the committee, for example, can use the good officers to ensure that those claims of yours, for example, they can go all the way to your class 3 teacher, ask you who was your teacher, who were some of your classmates, where did you grow up, who was the chief, those kinds of things that will let them enable them to establish the facticity of your claim to being a Ghanaian. If you are found to be a Ghanaian by that independent panel, you are given your card, and I will be instructed to give your card. If they find that your claim was false, then the law will take its due course against such a person. And if you use fraudulent means to acquire the Ghana card, the card can be deactivated so that it is useless or worthless in your hands. If the investigation is concluded and you are found to have been entitled to it, the card can then be activated and you get a benefit of the wonderful use of the card.
Well, I can hear that your flight might be called soon. So
Yes.
just a minute so you can take leave of us. Tell us a bit about this card. How sophisticated or unique is this card?
My brother, this is a card in its own league. It has 14 loadable outlets on it. That is to say, it's like having by way of analogy, having your mansion with 14 apartments in it, which you can rent out to people. It has 148 chip kilobyte capacity. Your average bank card, your Visa, MasterCard, all those ones, your bank card chip is 2 kilobytes. This is 148 chips. 20 of it is taken up by the processing system. The red is available for any identity system to be loaded on it. And because of the tremendous functionality, the National Health Insurance Authority, for example, is no longer going to produce cards. For the next 15 years at least, they're going to pay back on the Ghana card. And that means about $30 million saving every single year just from not producing cards. Social Security and National Insurance Trust is also no longer going to produce cards, piggybacking on the Ghana card. And so is GRA going to use the individual, the unique personal identification number on the card as the PIN number. The next thing is that when you get the Ghana card, 3 things immediately happen. Number 1, you get an electronic passport, which is superior to paper passport and valid for travel within the West African sub-region. Number 2, you get a social security number, the number that the Americans have and have a lot of pride in. We've got that integrated into our system. So every Ghanaian will have a social security number, which will travel with you from birth to death. When you get a card, the third thing that happens is that you also have a TIN, a tax identification number, which means that every Ghanaian will be brought within the scope of the tax net or the taxman. No one can escape the tax net. And of course, because of the deduplication that I talked about, and because of the fact that we are going to register Ghanaians from age 0, it means that every Ghanaian will have only a single identity, a single date of birth, and you cannot be Ken Ajiman Atefa at DVLA, Ken Atefa at Passport Office, and Ken Ajiman at National Health Insurance, and any of all those permutations or configurations. One identity, and by the way, football age will also be a thing of the past. This is serene, this is pristine, and that's what we're going for. And as for the other functionalities of the card, they are enormous. Indeed, we did a presentation of this Ghana card at a government biometric ID card.
Well, the line just tripped. So we lost Professor Ken Ajimanatef on the line, but at least he's spoken at length. And we still have with us ACI Francis Pamdeti, Head of Corporate Affairs, NIA, with us in the studios of Love 99.5. And I'm sure we can continue, from where we left off with Prof on the phone lines. Now, this is a conversation on the Ghana card. Registration exercise begins today. And like I've said to you, we're streaming live on Facebook. When you go onto our Facebook platform right now, you get to know, depending on where you live, where you can go and get yourself registered. Okay? Now, if you don't mind, you have questions, you have concerns, send us voice notes right now. The number to send your voice notes to is 0554 031 192. 0554 031 192. Send them to us and we'll get your responses as ACI Francis Pamdeti is with us in the studios of Love 99.5. Let's expatiate a little much more on who is eligible to go out there today and register, because he talked about who's a Ghanaian. Now, I know that there are people who might have adopted people and might have gone through the right documentation, and also once you are the corporate affairs head, give us more details as to who can go out there today and register being a Ghanaian.
Thank you very much. We have 4 routes to becoming a citizen of Ghana. Like you rightly said, adoption is one of the routes. You also have registration, naturalization, and citizenship by birth. So there are 4 routes. Now, for those who adopt a child who is 16 years and below, who is a foreign child, by virtue of the legal adoption, once the adoption is granted, by virtue of that legal adoption, the child assumes the nationality of the parent. So if both parents are Ghanaians or one parent is a Ghanaian, the child automatically becomes a Ghanaian. Now, for those who opt for citizenship by registration, they have to apply, and usually it goes to spouses of Ghanaians. So those who are married to Ghanaians and wish to become Ghanaians will have to apply to the Ministry of Interior. Approval has to be granted by the presidency. The individual has to go back to his country and renounce his original citizenship, bring the certificate of renunciation to Ghana. Ministry of Interior studies it. You swear the oath of allegiance. Citizenship certificate of registration is granted to you. For those who are who have lived in this country for a long time, who have also met all the immigration requirements and can assimilate into our environment, can speak a local dialect, and in a position to contribute to our socio-economic development, those individuals can also apply for citizenship. If it goes through the process and it is approved, what is granted is citizenship by naturalization. And then for those who are citizens by birth, I would split it into 2 broad categories. Persons born before 22nd August 1969 and those born after 22nd August 1969. Now, for those who were born before, the framers of the law focused on the birthplace of your parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents. So if you had a parent born in Ghana, and before 57 we didn't have Ghana, so the law describes Ghana before 57 as the Gold Coast Colony, Ashanti Colony, the Northern Territories, and the Transvaal Togoland under British administration. So before 57, that's how he described Ghana. But after 57 we had Ghana. So he says that you are a citizen of Ghana by birth if a parent or a grandparent or a great-grandparent was born in Ghana. So the birthplace of parents is crucial.
Okay.
Now, what it therefore means is that it doesn't matter your original or your origins. If you are, let's say, an Indian living in Ghana at the time, or a Lebanese, or a Chinese, or a Fulani, or whatever, living in Ghana prior to 22nd August 69, and you can prove that your parent or a grandparent or a great-grandparent was born in Ghana, you are Ghanaian.
Okay. Now,
for those who were born after 1969, all they needed to prove was that a parent or a grandparent was or is a citizen of Ghana, and then you qualify.
What do you use to prove that?
Oh, you need one. In a strict sense, you actually need a birth certificate, your birth certificate, and that of a parent. And we know quite a number of people do not have a birth certificate, so they would need somebody to vouch for them. So if you look at our requirements for registration, it's a birth certificate or a valid passport or a certificate of acquired citizenship. If you do not have that, the law makes provision for a relative who has already registered and been issued with the card to vouch for you, and some call it guarantee for you. So that person swears before a commissioner for oath that indeed he's somebody you know, and that individual is eligible to register, but because they do not have the documents, you are standing in and guaranteeing their eligibility. You do that before a commissioner for oath.
Okay.
Now, what happens is that your PIN number is tied to the record of the person you vouched for. So if it turns out that the person is actually not eligible and the person has to be prosecuted, you'll be roped in.
Okay.
Now, if you do not have a relative who has registered and has the card, then you need two persons within a category of professions. So one, teachers could vouch for you. You need two individuals. So teachers, members of the security services, police, immigration, customs, fire service, you name it. Government workers, so public and civil servants, licensed professionals, doctors, architects, engineers, journalists, you name it. Imams, clergymen.
They can all vouch.
These individuals, you need two from these individuals to vouch for you to be able to register without the original requirements.
But you and I know that some of the documents that we're supposed to produce, like the passport, the birth cert and all, foreigners have it in Ghana. And yet, we say we want to have a very robust system. So how do we ensure that people who own these documents, be it the birth cert or the passport, who are not Ghanaians, will not be registered and get onto our system?
It's important, and that is why being enlightened about the routes to citizenship is important. Because you have foreigners or persons you visibly see are not local people who have Ghanaian passport, and it is legitimate. Because when you obtain citizenship by registration and naturalization, your appearance won't change, but you have a legal basis for becoming a citizen of Ghana, and so you can apply for a passport. Now, for those who haven't gone through the right process to get a passport, when you get to the center, there are valid questions that will be asked, and out of those questions asked, you may expose yourself. So we believe that our officials have been trained well enough to be in a position to tell whether an individual even holding a document is indeed qualified or not. We've had occasions people have brought birth certificates, and whilst going through the interrogation process are giving answers that obviously tells that they are not citizens of this country. So that due diligence has been done. But that's why Prof rightly said members of our community would also have to be part of the process. That's why we are registering in the community. If you think somebody you have lived with is actually not a Ghanaian, let officials at the center know, and let them go through the formal challenge process.
Listeners, you can give us a call now. Join the conversation. 0322083596. The Ghana card registration exercise begins today. It's going to run until the 8th of January 2020. What have you heard? Do you have questions? Do you have concerns? Give us a call now on 0322083596 right now, and let's give you some answers. Now, whilst we are waiting to pick calls, let me ask this question, because I know that people who live in Ghana, who are foreigners, can also get themselves registered and have a Ghana card, but that doesn't make them citizens. During this exercise, can they go out there and do that?
This exercise is a mass registration exercise for Ghanaians only, persons aged 15 years and above. For foreigners who...
hold on for me, sir. Thank you very much. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Dave.
Yes, Kofi, how are you doing?
I'm fine. How are you, bro?
I'm very well, Kofi. Let's hear your question or concern.
Yes. The first question is the registration going on all the polling centers or all the constituencies? 2, I was born in 1965. My birth cert was somewhere along the line that those birth cert was abolished. A new birth cert was given. Now that birth cert too is abolished. Now we have a new one, which I don't have any. I don't have the new one. So how am I going to register? I am 54 years now. Do I need to go and make a new birth cert before I'm able to register? And also, I'm a blind man. I can't go to any registry of birth and death to make any new birth cert. So how am I going to, those of us who are visually impaired, how are we going to be registered to have this card?
We'll get your answer shortly. Thank you very much, Kofi. There, Emmanuel is calling us from Atosu. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi, David.
Yes, let's hear your concern or question.
Yeah, my question is, I just want to know where the centers are so I could go and register.
Well, because the centers are many, what we've done is that we have placed on our Facebook page right now some of the centers, so you can easily go there and you get all the. So depending on where you live, let's say at Tonso or something like that, then you get the necessary information as to where to go to.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Let's move on to our next caller here. Hi, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David.
Yes, sir. What's your name? Sammy, welcome. Let's hear you, sir.
Fine, thank you. I just went out to generate a GPRS address.
Okay.
And where I stood, I did it first. A number came, that address came. I decided to try it the second time. It came with a different address. So, what happens in this case?
So you have two different addresses now. You're confused
Yeah, the same.
as to which one to work with. Well, I hear you. We'll give you an answer to that very
And
one.
a second question
Yeah.
is about this. Now we are using the biometric birth test.
Yeah.
And initially, we had the manual one. So which of the days are we going to use?
Right. He would address it for you. Thank you very much there. Let's speak to Peter, who's calling us from Atasman. So good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, let's hear your concern.
Please, this birth cert, there's also a problem for, like, if you are from different region and you go to another region, let's say it's happened that you are supposed to involve in something that is in need of the birth cert and you want to register it in that region, they won't fill your place of birth from your original region. They will use somewhere at the present region for you. So with that, how do you do this one?
I hear you. Peter, your answer is on its way to you. Let's now speak to George Comfort. Hi, George. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David.
Let's hear you, sir.
I hope you are fine.
I am blessed.
David, this digital address and birth certificate, I think that exactly is the real problem on the ground now. So how are we going to create this digital address? Or you need to pay something before get the digital address?
Well, we have already said it already, but we'll still give you some more responses to that very one, George Comfort. Thank you very much. Let me now speak to Kweku Kwateng calling us from IDRC. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dave.
Yeah, let's hear you, Kweku.
They were just want to find out if there are special arrangements for other specialized professionals.
Can you explain that for me? When you say other professional...
Let's say if you go to Confanoche, are these special arrangements to register doctors and nurses, or we all have to troop out to join the queues and register?
Oh, okay, and I get you. Because it is something like that for the media somewhere over the weekend. Thank you very much. Sarkodie, good morning. Hello, Sarkodie.
Yes.
You're calling us from KNUST. Welcome. Let's say your question or concern.
All right. Now, this is about the citizenship issue. If someone was born in Ghana, but their parents are not Ghanaians, does this person become a Ghanaian?
I hear you. Well, Mr. Pamdeti has written it down. He's going to give you a response to that very one shortly. Emil, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, David.
Please go ahead, sir.
I have a peculiar challenge, and I want to find out if
go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
The name on my birth certificate is 4 names, but on all my educational certificates, I use only 2 names. So, is it possible I can use just those 2 names for the registration?
Okay, he's written it down, and he's going to give you an answer shortly. Let's go to Tafon Shayeso and speak to Akosa. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, let's hear you, Akosa.
Please, I want to find out if the documents they are requesting for, if you can use the photocopy or they want the original one.
All right, whether you need to take the original there and whether you have to take only one document or even more than one document, we shall give you a response shortly. We're just trying to pick our final caller, just one more call, and it's from Political Thinker. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Dave. It's a good move because from what Professor Atifa and the other colleagues had just spoke about, I think it's a good move, but they shouldn't make it like the national identity card that came and it couldn't sustain and went to the drain like an ashtray on the motorbike. So this is a good move. They should sustain it, make it better for us, because if we are living in a country where nobody is having any identity as a real Ghanaian, I think it's so disturbing. So it's a good move. Thank them very much.
Thank you too, political thinker, for your call. I know some of you still have more questions, but time is not on our side. But I'm hoping that somebody else's question would answer yours. So ACI Francis Pamdeti, head of corporate affairs at the NIA, has your answer. So please roll. You wrote them down.
We have we need original documents, not photocopies. Original documents, not photocopies. Now the birth certificates. Any birth certificate issued by the birth and death registry, we accept.
Okay.
So it's not the case of us accepting the certified true copy, which people call biometric. We accept all birth certificates issued by the birth and death registry. Now, if you are born in Ghana and both parents are not Ghanaians, your birth in Ghana does not make you a Ghanaian, or the issuance of a Ghanaian birth certificate to you does not make you a Ghanaian, because the information is that your parents are not Ghanaians. We are registering in all 833 registration centers simultaneously. So everywhere in the Ashanti region where a center is, registration starts.
Would you be moving the centers, or they're going to remain where they are till the 8th of January?
They'll be where they are till the 8th of January. Right. Then there's provision for the disabled, visually impaired persons can also go and register, and they'll be taken care of. And the issue about GPS address and birth certificate, somebody asked about whether the name on his birth certificate, we would capture the name on the required document you submit. So if you submit a birth certificate, it is the name on the birth certificate. Corrections cannot be made at the registration center. So if there are any corrections you need to make them before you come. Otherwise, the record you present is what we would use.
Is that in a response to the person who said he has about 4 names?
Yes.
All right.
Then the issue about digital address, that we have grades. Ghana has been graded into chunks, and each chunk has an address. So it's possible you can stand here and generate an address and go stand on the other side, and the address will be different. What has to be done is that whichever address you generate, which you generated in front of your gate, use that. Eventually you have to register. In fact, the app allows you to register that address, so that becomes the address known. Any other address in that zone will be ignored, and what you have registered is known. So please, once it's in front of your gate, whichever one you have, go ahead and use it. Then I think I've spoken about birth certificates.
Yes, you have.
Special arrangements. We don't have special arrangements as we've started with the mass registration. What we will be doing is institutional registration. Many institutions, they don't allow the officials to go out and register because of the nature of their job, etc. NIA is allowed by law to go out there to institutions and register their staff, but it comes with a fee. The fees and charges, legislation is still in Parliament, is being worked on. As soon as it comes out, we will start registering staff of various institutions, and we also have a premium. We'll have a premium center where those who do not want to queue, want to book an appointment and go have their Ghana card, they also pay a fee for it.
All right, so why should you take your time to go through the rest? We have a few voice notes that has come in. We'd like to play it for you to also take a listen to it and see what responses or answers you can give. So let's start hearing some of the voice notes that have come through this very morning.
Good morning, David. Please, I live in Kumasi, but I work in Obuasi. So from Monday to Friday, I'm always in Obuasi. Can I register in Obuasi?
So that's one. We have more for you, and so take a listen.
Good morning, Dave, and all your listeners. Dave, it's Kwabena from Gunasis. Please, what I want to know from the NIA form is that I want to know if, let's say, my passport is invalid, should I come with a person to be my witness, or should I go and renew my passport before I can come for the national identity card? And
Erastus, good morning. Erastus, how do I generate my GPS address code? Thank you. Erastus, good morning.
Hello, good morning. I'm Kwame Friye. Please, can you answer this for me? Suppose I live at Edum, but I work around Tech. can I take my particulars and register my?
Well, so those were some of your voice notes. We're working on a few more, and we'll be sharing them shortly. But, Mr. Pamdeti, you heard some of them. One says, well, he lives in Kumasi, works in Obuasi during the week. Should he be registered in Obuasi?
Once you're in the Ashanti region and registration is going on, you can register anywhere in the Ashanti region. What we would expect you to do is to provide information regarding where you live. So if you live in Kumasi and you work in, let's say, Obuasi, we need your residential digital address from Kumasi, not Obuasi.
Okay.
But you can register in Obuasi, it's no problem.
Somebody says, what if the passport is invalid? Should you come with somebody to vouch for you?
Yes, you need somebody to vouch for you. Otherwise, if you think the period is such that you can still get a valid passport, why not? But we take valid passports, not invalid passports.
But yeah, that's why he was asking whether he can renew the passport before he comes there. And again, the issue of the GPS generation of the number and all that, people still have concerns about it. And I think that we need to do some more education and sensitization in that regard.
But interestingly, the Ashanti region is where digital address has been generated the most. NAPCO has done a lot of work in the region. You move around, you see digital address pasted all over the place. But in all other regions we've been to, they have volunteered to help each other to generate the address.
Okay.
And we've spoken about digital address right from 2017. We should not stop being last minute people. Let's just try and get it done. Let's use this opportunity now to generate it quickly, and let's not miss out on the opportunity to get a Ghana card.
Let's take a listen to a few more voice notes.
I work at Ashanti region, but I'm from Volta, and then my original birth cert is in Volta region. Can I be able to use a photocopy of mine to register here, since I wasn't able to do that?
Well, like I have been saying, somebody's question will answer somebody's, and I'm sure that this one has been tackled a while ago.
So it's not where you come from. So as you live in the Ashanti region, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Yeah,
you can register in the Ashanti region. And we don't take photocopies; we take originals.
Now, when Professor was speaking to us on the phone lines, he made mention of the fact that this chip has about 148 kilobytes, space on it.
Yes.
And it also can take other cards.
Yes.
Now, can people come with their own cards to say, well, I want to fuse it and put it on that very one card?
No,
you can't.
The applets are for rental. Now, NIA has been a cost center institution. We want to be a revenue center institution where we generate our own revenue and possibly be in a position to sustain our own selves. Kala was worried about what happened in 2008, and that shouldn't befall us in this particular period. And these are some of the things, the innovative things we brought on board to help the institution generate its own income. So the applets are for rentals for institutions, not individuals. But who knows? If you can afford to rent an applet, maybe will be considered, but for now the focus is more on institutions to have their members have their information loaded on the chips.
A message says, good morning, David, please can the NI kindly clarify the registration for children under 15 years?
Yes, for those who are below 15 years, our intention is to start registering them from next year when we are done with the mass registration. We are to register persons age 0 and above, but our strategy is to start with those who are 15 years and above. They are receiving the smart card, what the Prof just described. But the children below 15 will be receiving what we call a 2D barcode card, and that's just like the old Ghana card we issued. We have lots of those cards in stock. There's no point in wasting those cards. We think that we should issue it to those who are 14 years and below, because those who would use the card the most are in the range of 15 years and above. That's why we're issuing them with the smart card.
And again, you've thrown a caution to the supposed Goro boys or Goro girls. What do you expect from them?
We would urge people not to use this exercise as another business opportunity, especially to become vouching contractors who go and sit at the center and say, oh, if you need somebody to vouch for you, I'm here I'm available, etc. You'll be prosecuted if you are found out. Number two, anybody you vouch for, it's important you know the person before you vouch for the person. Because we do an audit of the system. We've had situations where one assemblyman has vouched for by 1,000 people. we would do an audit whether indeed this individual knows the people. If he knows them, that's fine. But if you don't know them, it means that you vouch for somebody you are not sure of, and you did that under oath, and you can be prosecuted.
Okay. Well, this one is from somebody who's watching us live on Facebook. Says, please, I had the chance of registering on Sunday, but they couldn't print out my card for me. They tell me it's on the waiting list. What should I do?
You have to wait. What Prof tried explaining to us why in some cases one may not get his card instantly. Now with adjudication, it's a situation where, like you said, sometimes fingerprints could be similar or data could be similar. It goes into adjudication. Let's say we have 833 centers. All these centers have issues going into adjudication. It would join a queue. And so if in a day you had 10 adjudicated issues from each of the centers, you're having about 8,000 cases in adjudication, and it would be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. The good thing about this card or this registration is that we have your contact numbers, we have a digital address, you have an email address, we are able to contact you. Unlike the previous registration, we didn't have any contact at all. So even those in Accra who were unable to get their cards, we sent them text messages, phone calls, they came for their cards. So those in Kumasi, if you register and you don't get your card, even by the time you are leaving, know that we would create the environment or create the situation where you can pick your cards. Offices will be opened in all the districts once we are done with the registration to register those who are unable to register during the period, and also issue cards to those who are unable to pick up the cards.
Well, this one says, I'm a chief with my stool name used in my passport, but I have my other official names on my other cards. Can I register without any issues?
If you come to us with your passport, we would use the name in your passport. So these issues have to be clarified before you get to us. Whatever document you present us, what we would use for the card.
Mr. Pamdeti, thank you very much for your time.
My
and
pleasure.
I'm sorry I was rushing you along the line. It has to do with the time that we're working with. At this point in time, we say thank you very much to our audience as well. We're not done yet. We're coming up your way with more on the Super Morning Show. I'm sure that you've heard by now that a manageress at ADB had to pass on because when she got to it's alleged that when she got to the hospital facility, she was not admitted. She was not attended to because of lack of beds. This and many more conversations coming up your way right here on the Super Morning Show. Thank you very much for your time, but stay with us because we got more for you.
FPAC is effective for headaches and relieves the symptoms of flu.